Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, Meathead.
From 13-year-olds to 77-year-olds have made this cocksucker work. All over the world. So when it doesn't work for you, you know exactly who to fucking blame. And that was the frustrations that were coming out last night. But I saw it in your eyes, didn't I? You're scared shitless. I'd like to be scared shitless. Then I don't have to wipe my ass. Or have somebody else. Although I like people wiping my ass. I'd be a liar. I'd be disingenuous if I didn't tell you I like people wiping my ass. But they don't wipe poor people's asses. Unless you're in one of the rest homes. And I just got a email from one of the kids, a Chinese kid. An aerospace engineer, graduated from university and came here. And he said, I'm pleased to tell you and took it over right at the beginning of Corona. Bank accounts drained, everybody running like fucking thieves in the night. Like Chinamen in the night, they're all running. And he said, we're back, we're 23 out of 33 beds when I started, and now we're 30 out of 33 beds. And we're going to cash flow $135,000 this month. But he was that close to death. He really was dead in the deal. Because he didn't buy it on the Corona formula. But he's lived there 24/7 since March, hasn't left. Hasn't slept, he's 22 now. And you won't do that. Forget the fact that most of you aren't physically fit enough to do it. Forget that. That aside. And he's fit. If you're not fit when you're 21, 22, you might as well kill yourself. But that's why. And it's obvious. And you know I'm hitting it right. I'm hitting it for 6 right now. I can just tell. By looking at your faces. When you don't make this work, if you don't make this work, it's nobody but you. And to date, I went back and looked at your files again, early this morning, just in case I might have forgotten some stellar thing that you might have done in your past. I didn't skip any, I didn't forget anything, because there are no stellar accomplishments in your past. You know it, I know it, and you know I know it. And last night, everybody in this room, and again, there are no part-time high-performance people. Even the guys that have jobs that you've talked to, like the Viking bitch, full-time job, Andreas, full-time job, Gerard, full-time job, have made this work because they have worked a full-time job, so they're working 2 full-time jobs. The average hours of the work of the kids in the seminar that come here before QLA, and we're now in the European Union, we're on a 32-hour work week, I think, or something like that, or maybe 35 hours, and it used to be 40 hours was a normal work week. Back in the day. Well, that's not the case now. Because of unions and a lot of other things, they want to work less. But you as a group don't work 40 hours a week. I don't call it work, 50, 60 hours a week. I don't call it work, though. And I'm supposed to be part-time. 2/3 of my time is pro bono, which is true, for free, for charities and shit like that. And 1/3 of my time is finger fucking with you guys. And I'm still working 50, 60 hours a week. I worked on my 75th birthday. There was a time from 1971 to 1997, summer of 97, I worked 26 years straight without a day off, including getting married, including my kids' days that they were born. One of the webinars you're going to hear today or tomorrow from one of the doctors. His wife's giving birth. He's on trying to close a guy on the phone. He's, push, honey, push. Push, honey, push. And he's an MD doctor. Push, honey. His wife doesn't like that story. It makes it seem like he's not sensitive, right? Or he doesn't care that his first child is going to be with his first kid. Fear is false expectations appearing real. But to you, they're not false expectations. They're your expectation of you failing again. Unless you get over that, kids, it's going to be a motherfucker. Aside that the March guys went out and they finger fucked themselves, did it mostly wrong, and I would be a liar if I didn't tell you. For those of you that already started down the wrong path, it's harder for you to get on the right path than the guys that haven't started on the path yet. I'd be lying. Some of you are never going to make it back. You started the wrong fact pattern, like I told you, right? We all talk about change, but nobody wants to change. Everybody, he's going to change, but you got to change first. We're going to show you a little clip, 2-minute clip, which I think is extremely. It's not a perfect metaphor for what you're going to go through, but it's almost a perfect metaphor. It's almost a perfect metaphor. Hit it. Read the words for those of you who can read. Aren't going to make that change. Why do I say that? Because I've been doing this 27 years. And I got nothing else to sell you. You wasted your money coming here. And for the poor March fuckers, they came back twice, as they say in Texas. Everybody talks about change, but nobody wants to fucking change. Not going to make it. Not going to happen. Yet if I was one of the regular guys, and I call them regular, because I have no malice towards the other fucking dipshit gurus, I'd lie to you. When they tell you in this country, or in the United States, you can be anything you want to be, that's a fucking lie. Of biblical and Quran proportion. You cannot be anything you want to be. That's horseshit. In this country, unless you went to Eton, Harrow, Cambridge, Oxford, the odds of you being prime minister are not zero, but certainly close to zero. In the United States, if you're not one of the political titan families, and you went to one of the great schools, the odds of you becoming a president of the United States are not zero, but pretty fucking close to zero. So when you're growing up and they say, you can be anything you want to be, honey, that's a fucking lie. You're here, good, better off than the YouTubers. But now you're on the spot. The YouTubers aren't on the spot. All they have to do is flap their lips on the fucking YouTube channel. Because now you're going to know and you're going to be able to measure yourself against success. I got an email from a Hall of Fame. This is a Hall of Famer who's decided to go back in the hunt after a few years of not being in the hunt, because it's like birds' nests on the ground. And he's going back through the whole process. I have 3 accounting firms interview in 2-day period. QLA bots have said it's hard to do QLA during the COVID environment. The opposite is absolutely true. Pre-COVID-19, to interview 3 top-flight accounting firms, I would have traveled over hell's half acre, going to Boston, New York, yada, yada. Now I can do it in 2 hours on a Zoom call, which is what I've been saying, right? The same is true of interviewing board members, financial institutions, and initially acquisition targets. Still need to lay in-person eyes on the business. When you say this is the QLA's time, you are clearly spot on. COVID, blah, 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 and he goes on. I don't need this validation, other than it's coming from a Hall of Famer. It was so easy, he couldn't stop himself, so he had to go back in the hunt. And he's already got a shit ton of money. And he's old. He's 10 years, at least 10 years older than anybody in this room. At least 10 years older. And he's back in the fucking hunt, as Sally would say. He says, because in 10 years I kick myself for saying I left all that fucking money on the table. But now he's going to be taking the money out of your pockets. Because you're competing against him. It's healthcare. And he's going to eat you a fucking alive. He's going to leave you for dead. You better hope that all of them don't come back. 2 or 3 have. They said, I haven't had so much fun since I was 50. Haven't had so much fun in 25 years. Now it really is fun, Dan. When you have to do it, it's not as much fun. When you want to do it, it's fun. This is the time. This is the fucking time. And because of that word, which I can't pronounce either, but anyway, that word, and we've had people, you've read about them in the news, that people are so afraid they can't go out of their house. They can't go out of their bedroom. They can't get out of bed, really deep depression. And it exists. The fear of picking up the phone. The fear of making a cold call. Every time I tell you guys you're only 2,000 calls away, you look depressed. I know there's Viagra to get your dick stiff, and I'm sure there's antidepressant medicines, right? Yeah. We should do an ad for antidepressant and just have your faces. It's not funny, guys. And I've restructured the seminar for the rest of the week. And that's before you idiots were fucking around last night. I knew when I tell you there's 31 days in February, there's fucking 31 days in February. When I tell you the fucking sun's not coming up, the motherfucking sun's not coming up. Nobody is better at this than me. And when I tell you I smell fucking death, I smell fucking death. But we're going to turn that around starting right now, like I said last night. because I don't fail. And the hardest thing is because I got to live vicariously through you sorry fucking wussy cunts. But then I get an email from a Hall of Famer like, that makes me feel good again. You did a good job, Dan. You did a terrific job. All I do is I pray they all don't come back. Because there won't be any healthcare deals that do any place, anywhere. Because they'll do them all. They'll do them all. Now, because of the load of shit that you've learned over the years, the next little 30-second film is what you look like to me carrying baggage. Baggage means negative. Hit it, EJ. Does EJ look like a Malaysian pimp? It feels like going through it. I can just see you collecting your change and pennies like that. That's you today. And you didn't even get the pennies change. That's just the load of baggage you're still carrying around. Like you haven't wiped your ass in 3 months. Okay, you're going to pass out that article. The article about fearing everything is part of your homework tonight, your takeaway. Last night you saw Nick, who I've talked to. Tried to get it to come here. Anyway, it didn't work out. And he's 88 or 89 now. He's a gnarly old bastard. And love doesn't get the job done. The greatest tennis coach in the history of tennis. And he can't play tennis. And he's never competed. And he's no physical Atlas, Hercules-looking guy. And he never has been. Knows nothing about it. Has 180 or 185 world champs under his belt, if I remember correctly. Been married 7 or 8 times. All the things that you want to know about, he knows you don't have to know. And he really can't remember the names of his ex-wives. Okay, takeaway about Nick. Yes, sir, in the back.
So the only thing he ever really wanted was to be successful.
Well, that's a pretty big fucking, the only thing I ever really wanted was to be successful as well. But I wanted to be super successful. And the hardest thing for me in life is because I have to live vicariously through you meatheads. And it's a motherfucker. I underestimated. I'm not going to beat that horse to death. I just thought everybody had self-esteem, and I was wrong. Almost nobody has it. Other thing about Nick. Yes, sir.
He did want to, he was a winner, and he wanted to be with the winners. And it looks like your motto that you don't care about anybody else except the numbers that goes up.
Numbers. I don't care who in this room is super successful as long as some of you are. I don't give a fuck which one. On top, underneath, whatever. I don't give a fuck. What else about Nick? Yes, sir.
Everything that doesn't involve winning, he's blocked out. He has zero recollection.
And yet, everything other than winning, you've blocked out. See, we're going to show you example after example, and it's still not going to get through your skulls. Because you've got the mindset, I can see it. You've got the mindset, that's them, that's not me. Mr. Peña doesn't, even though I asked you all these questions, you don't know what I've gone through in life. Oh, yes, I do. There's not anybody that has even remotely as tough a life as I had. Not even remotely. What else? Yes, sir, in the back.
He said that if you don't do mistake, you won't be on the top of the mountain.
How he treated Agassi, his superstar. Now that's beautiful. Yes, sir.
They were all competing for his approval.
We had a kid here a couple of years ago who went through the camp, that camp. He was a gifted athlete, comes from, I think, Venezuela, Argentina, Bolivia, someplace in South America. He sobbed during that movie. I wasn't here because I'm gone. He sobbed. He couldn't, left, came back, sobbed. Because he says, you don't know the half of it going through that program. He went there when he was 10 or 11. He left there when he was 15-ish. He says, you have no idea what it was like being there. But he's a super success. Not in tennis. Not in tennis. And then you meet heads, commissioner, oh, is it all right? I think his name is Victor. Victor, is it all right? During the January hardcore that Brian QLA Rose attended here, he was sitting, well, of course, we didn't have this kind of setup in that room. He was sitting like second from the end from the table. And the guy there collapsed from stress and fell over onto Brian QLA Rose. And Brian's like, we had 2 medical doctors there. 3, actually. 1 medical doctor didn't get up from a fucking chair. 2 looked at us, looked at me, and I said, yeah, we'll see what you can do. And they went back there, and I said, pull his tongue out of his mouth. That's the only thing I know how to do. Lie him on his side, pull his tongue out of him so he doesn't choke. And the one Australian doctor, I swear to you, kind of tapped him with his foot. He's okay. And he went back and sat down. That's the real world. I almost shit myself. I was laughing so hard. And Brian said he had heard that people have shit their pants in the seminar. People have passed out. But when the guy passed out on him, I think because he was wearing one of his new suits that, Brian goes to my tailor now, one of his new suits, and that he was going to get saliva or some shit on his fucking lapel. I think he was more worried about it. That's the real world. Even the doctors didn't want to fuck with him. Of course, now the doctors can get sued, all this bullshit. What else about Nick? Yes, sir.
It's a mental approach. Who control his emotion, who win the game.
Well, a lot of people say Novak doesn't have emotions. They say Federer doesn't have emotions. These guys and the gals, they learned how to control their emotions. What else about Nick? Yes, sir.
He only thinks about going forward, doesn't even think about the past, even if he did something apparently wrong.
Stop. Doesn't even think about the past. And that's all you guys are thinking about. All your failures. That's what you're thinking about. Or you haven't done anything, so why blemish my record now? I've never done anything, so why start now? Because I'll probably fail. Yes. Legend has it, I don't know if it's any truth in it, the reason why he's got so many wives is because as soon as his wife gave him shit about working too hard, he got rid of her. He lived on that courts. Didn't know anything. I can't emphasize, that's why we play that. I can't emphasize, he knew nothing about tennis. And why do you want to know? Why? You can't help yourself. These aren't the best of practices. These are the best of practices. These fucking work. If you do them. If you do them. If you don't do them, then they don't work. And then QLA didn't work, and you could go put your shit on Reddit. Up until about 2 or 3 years ago, we traced back the people on Reddit the best we could. Almost every single one of them was a failure that dropped out of the QLA mentor program. Not everyone, but almost everyone. And that was enough stats for me, and so we didn't. Because you can track these people down. It's with great difficulty, but you can. What else about Nick? Yes, sir, in the back.
He was only reacting and not thinking about what he's doing.
And all you do is think. I've had one-on-one time with you with about, let me see, 6, 7 of you now. You. One other one. You said, I'm thinking about. You said it 7 or 8 times. You said it 4 or 5 times. You said it 2 or 3 times. I'm thinking about. In other words, thinking about taking an action. A couple of you didn't say it. What's there to think about? Do you want to be liked or you want to be effective? You want to be liked. Even Mr. Personality here wants to be liked. You're damaged goods. Big time damaged. But you're not so damaged you can't be repaired. Changed like the fucking eagle. I can just see you flying up and breaking your beak off. Oh, I'd love to see it. Breaking your beak off. And then pulling your feather and your fucking claws out. The people that have been the high performance like Viking Bitch, etc., I mean, how does she take care of 7 kids, work a full-time fucking job, still get up and clean the house? Do you hear that? She cleans the house. You can't even scratch your ass. Well, women are better multitaskers. That's a proven fact. How? Because she was serious. You don't move your whole fucking family and have people follow you that you're responsible for unless you're fucking serious. In the 70s, it was vogue to smoke marijuana and do cocaine at rich people's houses. I never did it. Because everybody was, starting a line, and what can it hurt? I still remember one a lady judge. What can it hurt? First line. Second line. Third. And then somebody said, you ought to slow down, Judge. Later that night, they used to have parties where they have jacuzzis. You'd break in a hot tub by having a party and a bunch of people come and jump in your hot tub. Now, I mean a hot tub like half as big as these tables, where you get 50, 80 people in a hot tub. And when you put 50, 80 in a hot tub, shit happens. Just shit happens. And later on that evening, she had sex with 3 people, raped by 3 different people. That same evening, a United States Senator took a tampon in the hot tub out of a woman, the string that hangs down, with his teeth. And as he rose, this is before selfies and shit, he rose his head above the water, his wife was standing right on the edge. They were divorced a long time, soon after that. When you put 50, 60 people in a hot tub, shit happens. I was always the first to take all my clothes off and get in the hot tub. And I told my wife, stand over there in the corner with the 3 or 4 other prudes. Keep your clothes on. And if anything bad happens, scream. I'll be there to help you. I was the first one, always. When you wanted a hot tub party to get going, you invited Peña, me. One, I like the way I look with no clothes on. Most of you don't. Two, I knew I was good looking, whether I was or not. Three, I knew I got more ass than a toilet seat at a bus station. So shit might happen there. And my wife's standing right over there. You would have done none of the above. And normally when the guys used to take out, their little dicks shrunk up. Because when you're nervous, your dick shrinks back in your, they tell me, I don't know, it never happened to me. Your dick shrinks back in your, and it wasn't cold. Now, the guys always said it was cold, that's why So a lot of the guys would jump in and then take their underwear off when they're in the water. That was a sure sign that he was needle dick the bug fucker, like Mr. Morocco back here. Okay, what else about Nick? Yes, sir.
Tennis is a lonely sport, and it is not easy, and the mental has to be strong.
This is a one-man game, QLA. Because you're the leader. If you're just part of a team, that's fine. But you're the leader. They're looking to you for leadership. The dream team is there to govern. They're not to lead. They're there to help you stay out of trouble, not to lead. It's like when I changed Andreas's contract papers, what he could do, what he was limited to. I was there to lead because I knew that he needed more latitude. Whereas the other board members were careful because they didn't want him to go out and spend a bunch of money that he may lose. Anything else about Nick? Okay, you also saw what? Pardon? Okay, well, I'm not going to go through that. That's beating a dead horse. Okay, any questions about what you saw? Okay, so I hope you sent your homework off to Kim, and I'll read it at lunchtime. You've been handed this out. Are there any questions? Are there any questions about the quality of earnings or the industry page that I gave you yesterday during the day? Any questions? Oh, EJ, turn the thing on, please. Yes, sir.
Quality of earnings usually come with like a summary as well, in addition to all this stuff, or is it just because it's just saying
the final draft does. That's the penultimate draft. That's next to the last draft. That's a good question. The final you'll get will be on big letterhead shit because that's what they charge you for.
How do they grade it? Is it like
no? They'll either say it's our professional opinion. These are my words. These aren't their words. Their professional opinion that there is a high probability that the company can replicate what they did in the past. That's in essence. It's 4, 5, 6 paragraphs, but that's in essence what they're saying. And that's what you're not looking for that because you've already decided that you're going to do things different. But the bank, commercial lender wants to see, because they want something to cover their ass with. So they want a paper by BDO, PwC, E&Y, that they say that there's a high probability. It doesn't guarantee that it's going to do that. And now your quality of earnings don't look like this exactly because now they're doing the quality of earnings for the last 4 months. April, May, June, July. And then they're multiplying them times 3 to give you a 12-month. They're not using trailing 12 months. Now, I know some of the kids, and I told the kids, if it's a viable business, just cut the numbers in half. If they're going to use trailing 12 months. And that's, I'm going to be right. Plus or minus 10%, just cut the numbers in half. When you go to the B schools, and one of the things we do in hardcore is normally they give you a high case, a medium case, and a low case, the probability, of the business. I always take the low case and I cut the numbers in half. The low case and I cut the numbers in half. Because I've never seen a business plan fail on paper. In 50 years and 7 months, I've never seen a business plan fail on paper. Because by definition, they don't fail on paper. They fail when you're running them. And the challenge with the quality of your earnings or a business plan, even a legitimate business plan, a good business plan written and put together by knowledgeable people, is there's no way of factoring in you running the business. Remember, the reason I can do a lot of the stuff I do is because to date, there is no compressed algorithm for 50 years experience, 3,000 transactions, 10,000 meetings, blah, 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 blah. There isn't any. Now, someday there will be. Hopefully I'll be long gone by then, but someday there will be. But there is no algorithm for that. And that's why the experience from the Dream Team members is so fucking important. And some of the Dream Team members maybe make one phone call. One of my guys made one phone call. In all the years he was on the board, came to all the dinners and the golfing and the Christmas parties, he made one phone call to the CEO of Citibank and got us $135 million when nobody else would give it to us. Nobody. Wait, one phone call. Walt, his name was Walter Wriston, the CEO. Hugh Carey, the governor. Hugh here. How much do we need, Danny? And I said, well, the deal, 85 and 15. We need 135 million. Where did he come up? I have no fucking idea where he got to 135. I told him 85 and 15, which were the real numbers. And we got 135 million. And he earned his slot. He earned his $9 million in shares. And one of the things that I haven't covered is you're going to give a guy 2%, and a bunch of guys 2%. And one or two of them are going to you're going to be workhorses. Pulling that fucking plow. I mean, you're standing on the shoulders of them. And so how do you undo? You don't want to take away from others. No. You give him more. So then you start a regular employee stock option plan and you give them options, which isn't as good as free founders equity because you got to pay for options. But then the company loans the director the money to buy the options, and then once he exercises options, he pays the company back the loan. So you may have options for $5 a share, and he sells a stock at $10 a share. So the difference he makes is profit. He's got to pay tax on that, and he pays back the $5 a share that the company loaned him. Yes, sir.
So I don't know if it's getting ahead a little bit or not, but in your last seminar, in one of the
Speak up a
videos,
little, please.
In the last seminar, in one of your videos, you said if the business we purchase is not operating as expected, we don't make the payment. I just wonder if you could.
Okay, say it again, please.
Say if the business is not operating as expected after
Okay, we buy it.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're running it.
Yeah.
And it's not operating as expected. Okay.
Yeah, we don't make the payment.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of the seller's finance. If they're making $100,000 a month and you're buying it based on some derivative of $100,000 a month, free cash flow. When I talk about numbers, I'm either talking about top line revenue or free cash flow. In Europe, they look at pre-tax numbers. In the United States, they look at after-tax numbers. Okay? But if it's not operating, then, you don't wait 3 months to see that it's not, I ask for numbers daily. I want daily numbers. And then you say, okay, Joe or John or whatever his name is, it's not working out, and I hopefully, and you can do something about it. You've got the rest of the month to cure, but if not, we're going to reduce your monthly payment by the difference, pro rata, the difference in the operating cash flow. And then you'll see them there 4 a.m. till midnight. And you don't even have to fix it. You go home, jump on that old fat ass, that old saggy ass you sleep with. They'll fix it. Because they don't want their payments to be reduced. Because like everything, I'm going to get $50,000 a month from these guys. They've already spent $60,000 a month. And their wife is doing this, and they tell their kids they can go on a ski trip, and now they're only going to get $3,000. They work their balls off. to make sure that they get all the money, or as close to all the money as they can. You're in charge. When you do seller's finance, you're always in charge, but you're super in charge when part of your payment schedule is to the seller. Anything else?
Mr. Peña, yesterday you said about the gentleman in Germany, and when he chooses...
I don't know if he's a gentleman. He is German. Okay, but go ahead.
Anyway, you said that because you are saying that CEO and CFO, all of them are watching for you to not make a mistake, and you said when he sent the amendment or whatever to them, and you didn't like it, but they didn't.
No, I didn't like it. They restricted him to 1 million euros that he could spend without board approval. Okay. He couldn't spend over $1 million. That's bullshit. That's small thinking, because we're only going to be buying $500,000 business, $1 million business, and I extended it to 10 million without board approval. But in the spirit of candor, Andreas isn't going to spend fucking even $1 million without asking me. He's a good soldier. I can just see him goose-stepping down the fucking road. I now know why it was so easy for Hitler to do what he did. He read the German brain just correctly. The little sociopath that he was. But that's why when they get it right. Anything else? Yes, sir.
For smaller deals, when the in-house lawyer is doing his due diligence, you expect the...
Correct. Now, let's say your in-house lawyer has got 25 years of transaction experience, and your in-house accountant's got 30 years at a Big Four accounting firm. They'll be able to do this in their sleep. And if they can't, I said it Monday, or the first day, if you have to tell your CFO and CEO what to do, you got the wrong guy or gal. They're there because they've been there before. You put them there because you haven't been. Or you've been CEO of your little family chicken shit business. Doesn't mean anything. Back in the 90s and the early 2000s, I used to encourage you to be CEO so you could see how bad you fucked it up. But then that added 6 months, and I don't have that time now. I'm running out of runway. So now we cut to the chase. I just tell you what works. If you don't do it, that's fine. Fuck you. But I'm telling you what works, the quickest, the fastest, not necessarily the easiest. You're going to get did we have these, the bands, the things for the wrists yet? No, that's from, did we give them to you? Okay. We used to have a thing that says, what would Dan do? You got 5, on your weekly reports, when you ask the problem, and then you list 3 of the probable cures to that problem. You list them yourself. You list them first, the best one, the second best one, the third best one. The solution to whatever problem, and I know they call them challenges now, is whatever is the least comfortable for you to do. Like in your situation with your CFO and chairman. That's the last choice he would make. And it is the first choice you should make. Whatever you would not want to do, like the Viking bitch. She talked to Raymond. She cried a little, blah, 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 blah. She came up with all these excuses why she shouldn't blow the guy out. That's and even for her, most of you in this room wouldn't have fired him. For all the reasons we've just enumerated. Because at some level, you still want this pedophile to like you. Yeah, but don't, you're so full of shit. Don't shake your head no. Just because the pedophile's not licking your dick doesn't mean you don't want him to like you. So stop it. Don't bullshit me. I don't like it. It's insulting to me. Anything else about Nick or the sheets that I gave you? So on the final quality of earnings, it'll say KPMG, BDO, blah, blah, fancy bullshit, and it's, and it'll have two partners' signature at the bottom. And by the way, your relationship with your accounting firm and your law firm is only as good as your relationship with the engagement partner. You may deal with 2 or 3 or 4 partners, but it's the engagement partner, the partner, the he or the she, that's taking credit for the revenue he's bringing in or she's bringing in. So your relationship is only one person thick. And when you hear Jason Nagy today or tomorrow, and he handles banks and partners like I did. He beats them like a rented mule. And one of the big 4 accounting firms told the law firm is that Jason's making us nervous. We don't want him to come to any more meetings. You're at the top of your game when they ask you not to come to meetings anymore. And you can ask Sally tonight, many, many years ago, we really don't need Mr. Peña there. Because I always put them on their back foot. I always make them nervous. I always make them sweat. I always give them high anxiety. We had a relationship for about 20 years with a Swiss bank, a lady banker. I'm sure she wet her pants every time not out of sexual excitement. She wet her pants. This was an articulate woman. I spoke 4 languages, yada, yada. She couldn't talk when I was in the meeting. Because I ask hard fucking questions. I ask questions because even though the relationship has already ensued, started, begun, initiated, I act like I'll walk out the door right now if I don't get what I want. You know how hard when you've got somebody, a bank or an accounting firm that's done your shit for 4 or 5 years, how hard it is to walk away? It's a motherfucker. None of your financial people will say to walk away. And I don't know how many times I walked away, or I at least threatened to walk away a lot of times. You've got to always be prepared to pick up your briefcase and don't let the door hit you in the fat ass on the way out. Anything else about the 3 forms? That quality earnings, and you have in your gig, they're not called quality of earnings, they're called M&A questions, now that I think about it, but they are, when you go through them, you'll see. And 75 to 90% of the lawyer's quality of earnings and the accountant's quality of earnings are the same. They're not all the same. They're the same. Somebody's hand, yes, sir.
The M&A questions, all you really care is just their approval.
You mean all you care or me?
Correct, all I care. It will just be the approval of them, correct? Because, somebody foreign like me, I don't really...
Oh, no. All you want is them to say that it's okay to buy.
That's it.
That's it. You don't have to understand all that shit. Okay, thank you. That's a good question. Now, some of you already understand the quality of earnings. This is no big fucking deal. You know this. Well, if you know it, how come you're not rich? But, okay. You know one aspect, one sliver, okay? But all you want them to do is say yes. And what I do is I tell them, let's say they're going to go on site when Corona is over. They're going to go on site and they're going to spend 2 to 3 days there going through the shit. Okay. Even an audit, a full-blown audit, they're not looking at every piece of paper. They're looking at every 5th piece of paper, every 10th piece of paper, just to see what the fact pattern, to see, and if there's any red flags. And I ask them, from day one, I want you to contact me by email or contact our CFO by email telling me, are there any red flags? Are there any things that might be a problem? Because I don't like surprises, positive or negative surprises. And due diligence is a euphemism for knocking the price down. One time in 50 years have I ever seen the price go up after due diligence. Only one. And it was that blonde naval officer that spoke yesterday, or the day whenever he spoke. His deal was the only deal in 50 fucking years that the numbers were better than they gave us. Due diligence is always a way to knock the price down. because there's shit they're not telling you. And hopefully during the due diligence process, you find out. You find out. And because they're living out of the business, just like you're living out of your businesses. You're paying your mortgage and your girlfriend and your wife and your kids' rent and all this shit out of the business, which you're not supposed to. And by the way, when you start this deal, you took the last illegal dollar out of the company. You took the last illegal, well, I'll put in a questionable dollar, pound, or euro out of the company because you're not living out of it anymore. Yes, sir, in the back.
When you analyze businesses and you get the usual add backs, you know, how do you...
Okay, now, let's take the word usual. There are no usual add backs. They're the add backs that are trying to convince you that they're usual. My initial comment is no add backs. And let them squirm. They got to convince you. They got to convince your board. They got to convince the accountants what may be added back. For example, the CEO, the current CEOs or managing directors or husband and wife, they're each drawn $250,000 a year out of the business. And let's just say it's a $5 million turnover business. A $5 million turnover business, the managing director should maybe draw $200,000 one time, not $250,000 twice. Everybody go with me? And they're big charts. Now, I don't have to go and say, oh, this is what the GAP, of General Accepted Accounting Principle, this is what the KPMG study said in the UK, this is what the university said. I'm just take it or leave it, asshole. Okay, so we're add back 200 because we're going to have to hire somebody for 200, not 500. And so we're not adding that back. And there's a lot of things. And now some of the more obvious ones, and they won't tell you that they're paying. We paid for they had on the books the guy's mother, who was the founder of the business, cosmetic business. She's been dead 10 years. And they're still paying her. That's tax fraud, amongst other things. She was still on the guarantee in the bank loan. She's dead. Now, that's a pretty obvious, right? Like, oh. They look at each other like, they think you're still. And this is the kind of shit you're going to uncover. Or the wife will say, you know, what are all these expenses for this apartment and the car? The guy's girlfriend. And sometimes they want to slip them by you, not because they're trying to cheat you, but they don't want their wife to see it. And sometimes vice versa. Yes, sir.
So, all these fake expenses, how does that translate to lowering the price in, you know?
Because they wanted to add it back like there was revenue and it was income, even though they spent it on, you know, fucking around. And I mean, I won't say legitimate business expenses. No, they've changed dramatically. But I mean, in the UK, back in the day, you can have directors have cars, and you wrote it off. And I mean, it's changed. It's changed. It's changed. Now, if Donald Trump does away with capital gains tax, if he gets reelected, which I hope he does, capital gains tax will save rich people hundreds of billions, which means when I die, even though I've done a lot of estate planning and I have some big insurance policies in effect, so we don't have to sell any assets when I die to pay our tax. I mean, it's mammoth, okay? It's huge. If they ever do away, so I mean, but right now, your ability to write off things against business expenses is pretty reduced. It's pretty reduced. Before, I mean, everybody got a credit card. Everybody got a car. everybody got this, and now nobody gets anything. That's exaggeration, but almost nothing. Yes?
You say Trump is trying to get rid of capital gains tax or
Capital
inheritance tax?
No, excuse me, both.
Really? So you buy a
But
house.
I meant to say inheritance. Thank you for correcting me. And capital gains and inheritance tax. He's trying to do away with both. Capital gains, you buy a building for $10 million. You sell the building for $20 million. The difference is, after you depreciate and all this shit, is $10 million. You pay taxes on that at a capital gains rate. Okay? Which I think is 20% in the U.S.? 15% in the U.S., 15%, okay. As opposed to your ordinary income. Ordinary income, depending on what tax bracket you're in, I mean, you could be paying 35, 38, 40%. That's without city and state taxes. And one of the reasons, I didn't leave California because of state income tax, but one of the reasons that the states that are doing better, I'm not talking about Corona, better financially are the states that don't have state income tax. Nevada, Texas, Florida, Montana, I think, and a few others. Yeah, in the back.
I have a target with $500,000 negative cash flow last year, but they have positive cash flow this year. Is that good enough to buy? And if yes, what is the multiple of EBITDA?
I'd have to see it. Depends. Knowing you, I have no idea what you're paying for it. Yeah, okay. Okay, YouTube, thank you.